We just finished with the boring straightaways, and I guess Nathan was talking into the camera about how he was wide open trying to catch up. And with me on the 12 kilowatt tune, I thought I was going slow, but it turns out I was not going slow. I was going wide open pace on that bike.
I was wide open at 47, 48 miles per hour on that dirt section trying to keep up.
So it's funny how once you have more power and bigger batteries, you recondition yourself to what's slow and what's fast. Yeah. I was going a lot faster than I realized.
At what mode were you in?
I was only in 2.
Yeah,
and I was like half throttle in 2.
So yesterday, what I noticed, the combination of your Dorado Expert and the EXT ARMA on the rear, that combination felt amazing. That shock blew me away how good it was on the back.
Yeah, and I'll be talking about that as well as we ride, because that rear shock felt incredible. And he had an older Marzocchi. Was it a previous generation Dorado, or what was that?
No, he had a previous generation Dorado on his bike.
And that generation Dorado didn't feel nearly as good as this new Dorado. This new Dorado is incredible.
So
it's the best.
Dorado soaked up everything. I couldn't bottom it out. Same thing with the EXT on the rear. It stayed on the ground through all of the whoops. It's very progressive. So that combination is just, it's magical. Yeah. It completely transforms the bike. It made me so fast on your bike that I'm going to start racing motocross on it. I just really want to try it on a track.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
We're making plans for 2022.
I was so excited coming off riding your bike yesterday, and that suspension setup and your wheels and the power, that I can't wait to get on a track and mix it up with a few big bikes. Yeah. I think I can do it. We're going to give it a try.
And Afton in the background is convinced that she can beat her sister on Sur-Ron and her riding a KTM. So there's going to be a little sisterly challenge going on next year in the racing circuit.
A little fun competition. Sur-Ron versus KTM.
Yep. Versus other riders on all kinds of mix of bikes, both in the women's class and in the men's class. So that's going to be super interesting.
So what?
Man, you can double some of those on the way down. This bike is so freaking slow.
Oh, I know. I was just laughing at
fast on this bike.
I know. I was just laughing at how fast this was versus this thing's a rocket ship. This fork feels amazing.
It does.
It's so good.
Imagine what the EXT is going to be like.
I know. Combination.
Ride this.
This is a whoop trail, so. Too. Oh, this rear shock feels amazing.
Oh, did you trade him?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, the rear shock feels awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
I tried to stay on the back a little bit through all those whoops, and it's just, it keeps the rear end on the ground the whole time.
It's in there.
Yeah. And it's like a very good progressive ramp.
It is.
So the EXT with the Dorado is going to be magic.
This is sweet.
Just like the EXT ARMA Shock that's going on sale in January that we have pre-orders for, just has a bottom out control. Oh man, it's like it's snowing. It's funny, I told Nathan to go slow and he's like railing it. You're going way too fast.
I was out of control.
I know, you're going too fast. I'm trying to talk and you're making me out of breath. Just like the EXT ARMA rear shock, they have bottom out control valves. And so what that means is the last few millimeters of travel is reserved for a different valving system where it quickly ramps up and prevents harsh bottom out. So it makes the shock feel like it has more travel because it ramps up at the end and doesn't let the shock or the fork bottom out. That's how it's able to be plush, because they have lighter valving in the top stroke and the mid stroke, and at the bottom a heavy ramp up so that you don't bottom out. So you essentially get the best of both worlds. I also got to ride double jump. Oh, almost hit my head on the branch. Kevin from Warp 9 came and rode with us, and the EXT shock we've been developing with Suspension Syndicate and EXT is currently on his bike. So I got to ride his bike with the EXT rear shock, and it was incredible. I've never ridden a shock that good outside of a full-on motocross bike. It felt like it was made for the Sur-Ron. The valving was perfect, and the funny thing is, it works so good, it's like invisible. So what I mean by that is a bike that's got its suspension set up perfectly, it's like the suspension is transparent to the rider. It's just doing its job. You don't notice it. It's just working, and your mind is on other things. It's not thinking about the suspension. In contrast, when I got back onto my bike, which currently has a fast stage rear shock on it, which is better than the DNM rear shock, the first thing I noticed is, oh my gosh, this thing is bouncing all over the place. And when I hit rocks, like in a boulder field, it was skipping left and right. And when I was riding the EXT shock, all that was out of mind. I wasn't even thinking about it. So after riding both bikes, one with the amazing rear end, the EXT shock, and this one with the new Dorado, we all are convinced that that is going to be the most incredible setup you could possibly put on a Sur-Ron. That Dorado up front with the EXT in the rear, it's going to be magic carpet ride. The other really cool thing about the EXT and the Dorado is they're super adjustable. So you've got basically high-speed and low-speed compression, plus the bottom-out damper that can all be adjusted. So the cool thing about that is both are incredibly adjustable. And what that means is if you want to set up your suspension to be really soft and flush, you can do that, and then you can crank up the bottom-out valve to have a strong ramp up at the end, so that when you blow through your travel, the high speed or the bottom out valve kicks in, and it makes it so you don't have a harsh bottom out. Now you can still set up your suspension the opposite way, where you can make it really firm, which is great for jumps and racing. You can set it up firm, soft, but yet not bottoming out, or anywhere in between. Most suspension doesn't have quite that broad of a range of adjustment. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to, is how much you're able to adjust that setup. So come January, Nathan and I will have the EXT on the rear of the bikes. We'll be able to do some suspension testing with the EXT in the rear and both the DBO and the Dorado on the front.